Almost 9 years ago to the day, as I stand here, right around Christmas time 2025, so this would have been 2016, December, I got the call. The call that I thought I wanted for the entirety of my corporate career, which was, hey, you're getting the promotion to the equity level executive job and you're moving your family from Boston to Michigan. And then I fell apart. Personally, professionally, everything fell apart. 9 years later, as I stand here on Playa Blanca in Dominican Republic, my home just up the street a little bit that I own and live in, it's crazy to think how 9 years later, how much life has changed. I just wanted to do some reflecting. I don't know why. I woke up right after Christmas thinking like, man, how far we've come, how different life is, what kind of lessons I've learned. And today, I'm going to walk and talk with you. If you're here for it, cool. If not, click off, watch something else. But I'm going to share 3 lessons that I typed down that I've learned in these 9 years since I've left my corporate gig, since I've moved abroad to the Dominican Republic, and everything in between. But let me give you a little bit of the story. 2016, I'm in a position at my job. It was Progressive Insurance, where I was what they call like a process leader. So I had to travel around the country, mostly the eastern part of the country, 45-ish weeks a year. I'd be on a plane out of Logan, Terminal C, JetBlue, somewhere in the eastern United States, or sometimes I'd have to go out to the western United States. That was a big iguana just walked across over there. So I would have to do all of that as part of a position I was told would propel me to the next level. Now, this was like the 3rd position in a row that I sacrificed to take because I was told it was the position to get me to the next level. Like the corporate dance. I'm sure some of you know what that is like, where you're just essentially said, like, yeah, you're not quite ready. Maybe go do this for a little bit. Go take this other job nobody wants. And then if you prove yourself, maybe we'll give you what you do want. Well, I got it. I eventually got what I wanted. Right around now, I get a call from what would be my new boss in Michigan saying, hey, congrats, we're moving you out here in January 2017. You're the new guy out here. You're going to take over this struggling organization. You're going to be compensated a few $100,000 a year. You're going to be given a bonus, 80 to $100,000 a year, and you're going to be given stock every year as well. And then that stock will vest, and you're not even 40 at the time, and life is going to be set for you. And that's what I thought. That's what I was projecting. That's what I was assuming, but didn't go that way. We arrive in Michigan, we buy our house, all the excitement wears off after a few months, and I don't know, I was miserable. I wasn't present, I wasn't a good dad, I wasn't a good husband. We had baby number 2 on the way at this point. My wife even said, she's like, I mean, you're not traveling anymore, but you're not here. You're not present, you're not yourself. I don't know where you went. We moved to Michigan, you're home, you got the promotion. She doesn't have to work anymore, but I don't know. I was just lost. So as time went on, I started to, try different things, do different things, because I didn't know how to get out of a multi-$100,000 a year job. And I started to really dip into real estate. I dipped into a little bit of personal brand stuff, and just testing different things out. And eventually, kind of cutting the story a little bit short here, in 2021, I found my way to say, you know what, I can quit. I can leave this job, and I can go out on my own, and I can do something that I think fulfills me more than what I'm doing right now. And that was a difficult decision, but it wasn't something that I made lightly, and it wasn't as if I didn't do a lot of stuff before that to try to get myself out of that gig. I bought and sold 43 units of real estate, and I managed all of them while I still had my job. I started a networking group called Multifamily and More, and I managed that twice a month meetings and all of the stuff that came along with it, the content we were creating for it while I had my job, and I had my family, and I had 43 units of real estate to manage. So I was doing all these different things to try to find my path forward. And at the point at which I quit, which would have been March, April of 2021, I'll be honest with you, I was pretty certain about it. I didn't really have a great plan. It wasn't as if I was like, oh, I'm very clear on exactly how I'm going to earn income. I just knew that I've got a little bit of real estate that I could take some cash flow from, I've got some savings, and I've got some bets I'm willing to take on myself. And, worst case scenario, I got to go back and get a job. So I was literally at the moment living my worst case scenario because I had the job I didn't want anyway. So I ended up quitting. After I quit, everything changed. I had created enough value in the world that value was coming back to me. Opportunities were presenting themselves that just couldn't present themselves because I had the job in the way. And it led me to the first lesson that I want to tell all of you. I wrote these down, like I said, because I'm just going to walk and talk today. When you do what's hard, life becomes easy. And when you do what's easy, life is hard. For me, easy, this is for me, doesn't mean for everybody, but for me, easy was, hey, somebody else defines my value. Easy was, let me go do what everyone's telling me to do in this corporation so that I can one day maybe earn the right to get the job that I think I want and deserve. Easy was applying, I think it was 8 different times to get the promotion I eventually got in different places. New Mexico, New Jersey, where else? Texas, Illinois, South Carolina. I mean, I applied everywhere and was turned down again and again and again until I eventually got the gig in Michigan. And that was easy. That was the easy route because I could be the victim to all of it, right? I could just go back and earn my paycheck and somebody else is paying me and telling me how much I'm worth. And I could just keep butting up against, resistance in the form of not getting the job I want. And it's not my fault. Somebody else just doesn't see the value in me. Hard was creating my own value, creating value in the world, and determining for myself what I'm worth, what my time is worth, what my energy is worth. And I have to be honest with you, when you find that lane of like what's easy for you, where it's, aligned, like the work that you're doing and the things that you're doing are aligned, whether it's in a job or out of a job, income is easy, lifestyle is easy, balance is easy, life becomes much easier, but it's a hard decision. One of the big reasons it was a hard decision for me was really a couple of fears that kind of stack on top of each other. First was the fear of failure. But that fear of failure is really rooted in another fear. Like, I don't believe failure is the real fear that we have often. I believe the real fear of failure that we have is fear of being judged for that failure. Better said, if you could fail without anybody seeing it, would you care? I always make this reference, like, have you ever walked into a glass panel at a mall? Like, you didn't know it was glass. Maybe you were distracted on your phone, or it was just so clean that it looked like a pasture. Have you ever just like walked into it and banged your stupid face on a glass panel? I have. Or tripped over a sidewalk where there's nothing to trip over, just like, what do they call it? Like an invisible crack in the sidewalk or whatever. If you've ever done that, what's the first thing you do? You look around. Like, you failed, right? You banged into a piece of glass. That's a failure. Or you tripped over something that there's nothing to trip over. And then immediately you start looking around. You start seeing if anyone saw it. And if nobody saw it, you go on with your day. It's just like, okay, that was just me, no big deal. If somebody saw it though, you signal to them that you know how bad that looked, right? You don't want them to be judging you. You've already judged yourself. So you take that away from them, right? By ensuring that you know that, or they know that you just failed. So when you do what's hard, life is easy. When you do what's easy, life is hard. A lot of that is, I'm just afraid to fail. And I'm afraid to fail because I'm afraid to be judged. People are going to laugh at me. People are going to tell me I'm crazy. People are going to tell me I'm stupid. And trust me, I've had all of that over the years. All of it. But that is the first lesson that I really got out of it. One of the tools that I've used to really get at how to find my life's purpose is something called an Ikigai. I'm not doing any graphics on this, so it's I-K-I-G-A-I. I-K-I-G-A-I. I just did a long video exclusively for my DR Inner Circle, and I described the Ikigai. I described AI prompts to use to define your Ikigai. I went deep on what we're talking about, like to the level of 10. And that exclusive content is available there. If you want to check it out, just go jamiegruber.com, or down below there's a description. In the description, there's a link that you can click to go check out the Inner Circle if you want to. But the Ikigai is really defining your purpose and gives you a sense of where should you be spending your time. Without getting into my own Ikigai too much, because again, I did it for the Inner Circle, the activities I do on a daily basis fully align, and I make sure of that now that I don't have a corporate gig and somebody else telling me what my responsibilities are. It fully aligns with the things that I'm best at and that serve the world in the best way. My world, not 8 billion people, but the world that I exist within, which is all of you. So anyway, first lesson on this ascension, if you will, toward moving abroad and doing what I'm doing now is when you do what's hard, life is easy. When you do what's easy, life is hard. Once I ended up quitting, I entered a new sort of phase of life. And I think the best way I could describe this is distilled into lesson 2 that I typed down. And that's this. Say yes until you figure out what to say hell yes to. You got to say yes to almost everything when you're trying to figure out what's next for me. Maybe you do this Ikigai thing I just talked about, and you go through and you determine what it is that you're best suited to be in this world, how you can best serve the world that you're in, or the world that you do serve, right? Then it's a matter of, okay, now what about the opportunities that I'm going to take? And here's the dirty little secret. Saying yes to everything means that you're going to pivot very quickly. When I left my job, I am doing almost nothing close to what I thought I would be doing when I left my job. And going back to that fear of failure and fear of judgment, my fear of judgment is, hey, look, people that know me are going to be like, wait, I thought you were doing this, and then you were doing this, and then you were doing that. And my God, you're all over the place, man. Like, you can't expect to have results if you're so all over the place. And I believed that. And if that's something where you fear, like, my God, what if I take a leap and then it's not exactly what I thought I was supposed to be doing, and I change and I change and I change, and I would tell you, like, that is success. That saying yes to everything thing is a necessary evil, if you will, or necessary excitement for you to explore and figure it out. I always use this as an example. If you took an 8 or 9-year-old kid and you restrained him, you put your arms around him and held him for an hour so he couldn't go do anything he wanted to do, what would happen when you let go of that kid? He'd go wild. He'd go crazy. He'd release all that energy. We are all just kids, truly, in our hearts. Like, you know, my inner child is still part of me, as it is part of you. So think about then if I had a 21-year corporate career in, you know, doing things that weren't necessarily aligned with my best and highest order or best and highest gifts, but it made money and I had some success with it or whatever it might be. Imagine that inner 8-year-old child being constrained for 21 years in somebody else's dream. What's going to happen when you leave it? What's going to happen when you give it up? 7 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it might be. When you retire, maybe 40 years in, you're free, you're released. Naturally, you're going to probably do things that would be like the 8-year-old kid releasing. Like, expect to try different things. Say yes to everything. And then eventually, when you find the lane, whatever that lane is, which again will change and change and change, whenever you find your lane, then you have to start saying only hell yes, which means you're saying no a lot more. Today, for instance, I get asked a lot to jump on a call, have a conversation. And like a year and a half ago, I said, okay, you know what? I have enough of these asks. I'll say this, like my time is valuable. I'm blessed to have a brand that people are resonating with and they wanna learn and hey, tell me about your experiences, or just get on a call and have a conversation about what they're trying to accomplish. And I would love to do it with everybody. But I said, you know what? Hey, it's gonna be $500. $500 if anybody wants to get on a call for an hour. And there were two types of people that reacted to that. The first person was like, how dare you charge $500 for 1 hour? That is not my people. They're not my people. The second person said, wait a minute, I'm not paying $500 for an hour. I'm paying $500 for a 2-year head start at the time. I've been here 3.5 years. For a 2-year head start on what I'm trying to do, which is invest or buy in the Dominican Republic. Like, this guy, meaning me, he doesn't know it all, but he knows 2 years more than I do. That's essentially, that's my person. That's my guy. A year and a half later, if I were to do that again, it's probably $1,000 for an hour. How dare you over here, you're not my people, and no, I get it. Now it's 3.5 years worth of experience that if I want to move there and I want to avoid some pitfalls, that'll cost me way more than $1,000, paying you $1,000 for an hour. And by the way, I'm not offering this, I'm just explaining this. Paying you $1,000 for an hour gets me out of it, right? Like that is the yes to hell yes. So in the beginning of this, I might say, yes, let's have lunch, let's go meet, let's have a conversation, sure. But then eventually it's like, I can't say that. I can't say yes to everybody. So I only say yeses when it's a hell yes. Now, there's going to be a part of my life in the near future when I start to enter another growth phase where I'm going to say yes to certain things. Just yes. Indiscriminately, without discriminating. But once I get honed in, it's going to be hell yes. Here's an example for me going into 2026. 2025 was a lot of growth here on YouTube for me. So I said yes to a lot of things. I went to conferences, I jumped into groups, I had conversations with people, I would meet people, I would hear what they're doing on YouTube, I'd want to know about their technology and all that stuff. And that's great. I had to say yes to all those things to understand, like, okay, now I know where I am. I was looking at going to a YouTube event in February of 2026. But as I thought about it, I was like, this is a yes. It would be fun, it'd be great. It's in Las Vegas, I mean, cool, I'm sure I can meet somebody. But it wasn't a hell yes. And if it's not a hell yes right now, then it's got to be a no. Because if I'm saying only yes, then I'm saying no to things that might be more important. That's a week of content I can't create. That's a week without my family. That's a week away from my kids. That's money spent that I don't necessarily want to spend on that. Maybe I want to spend that money on other YouTube projects, content for all of you, whatever it might be. But the point is, once you find your lane is the only time in which you start to discriminate on yes or no, or yes or hell yes. But initially, you're going to have to say yes to a lot of things. I'll give you this one last story before I go to point 3. I remember going away for 2 different weekends when I had my job. And this was when I was doing my side hustle thing and saying yes to everything. So my wife had to endure me being away for 2 weekends in a row, had both kids, young kids, just going nuts. A 3rd weekend came along and I was going to be home. And a buddy called me and said, hey man, Brandon Turner, who, if you don't know him, big real estate guy. And he was the host at the time of a show called Bigger Pockets, which was the number 2, I think, business podcast in the world at the time. He's in Detroit. I was living in Michigan. We should go see him. He's hosting a meetup. And I was like, dude, man, 2 weeks, I was gone. My wife's going to kill me. And he said something to me very important to me. He goes, you never know where this type of interaction could take you. I went. I don't know how I smoothed it over with my wife, but thankfully she's one of the most forgiving, generous, incredible people that anyone will ever meet. Trust me. But I went. I met Brandon. What was unique about me at that event was Brandon and I both belonged to a men's entrepreneurial group, and I was the only guy there that did. There's hundreds of people there. I'm the only guy that could say, hey, Brandon, you and I are part of the same organization. We both paid like 10 grand a year to be part of this thing, right? So I got to meet Brandon. A few months later, Brandon invited me on the Bigger Pockets podcast, which was, I think, seen by, it was like 3 or 4 million people. 3 months after that, I quit my job. In many ways because of some opportunities that were presented to me from that podcast. If I didn't say yes without discriminating, I wouldn't have met Brandon. I may not be standing here today. Now, after that, once I got in my lane, I quit my job, there were some things to say yes to and some things to say hell yes to. Today I describe what I'm saying hell yes to, what I'm saying no to, but it's hell yeah or no. But before you can get there, you got to say yes to a lot of things. That was my second lesson. After I quit, and even before I quit, to be honest with you, I really went hard investing in, my own personal brand. Whatever it is I wanted to present to the world. Not necessarily like the business of a brand, but just having a brand. Having a profile online that people could consume, get to know me through, connect with me through. Some of it was strategic, because there's a saying or a stat that says you can't expect somebody to invest with you, and I was big into real estate back then, unless they know, like, and trust you. And know, like, and trust means at least 6 interactions. So if I'm online and I'm having interactions with people online, I can shorten that curve versus, say, meeting somebody for lunch 6 times, if that makes sense. So I always believed that having some level of a personal brand was important. As we go into 2026, I believe it, doubly, triply, that personal brand is the next IP, intellectual property, that has the most upside value. It doesn't mean you got to be a YouTuber and going out and doing Mr. Beast type stuff. But if you haven't, in my opinion, put yourself out there in some way, whether it's written, video is the best, I'll say it, written, video, audio, like a podcast or whatever, I think it's highly advisable to at least create a digital footprint for yourself. Everything since I've left my job has connected back to the content that I create. Now look, I love making content. I love doing this. I love having conversations with people through this medium. I love YouTube. And I make some money off of specifically YouTube. But the opportunities, the interactions, the people I get to meet, the things I get to do because of having a personal brand are insane. You wouldn't believe the incoming. Look, I get a lot of people messaging me and saying, that truck going by, and saying something like, hey, we should meet, I'm doing this, that, or the other. And I'm like, again, a year ago, 2 years ago, I might have been like, yeah, that sounds interesting. Now I'm like, I really can't, I'm sorry, I don't have the capacity for that. And they'll say, like, you don't know what I'm all about. And my point to them is like, I get that a lot, but more importantly, you don't know the rooms I'm in. You don't know the interactions I'm having right now, and I'm only one person. My cup runneth over with some of the opportunities that I have. So I might be saying no to incredible opportunities. But if it's not a hell yes, if it's not like, my God, that lights me up, then it's a no. You might see me interacting with people and be like, oh, I thought you said no to everybody. Like, no, I say no to everybody unless it's a hell yes. So my interactions today are mostly hell yes interactions, to be honest with you. And it's hard because there's a lot of great discussions, a lot of great people I can meet, a lot of great things I can do. If I just said yes, and who knows what will come of it, but gotta say hell yes. I can't say yes to everything. But anyway, your personal brand, who you are, authentically putting yourself out into the world and sharing your experiences, your life, what you've come through is so important. And what I would say is, whatever it is that you feel the most passionate about in this world, authentically, is your personal brand. I was talking to a friend the other day, actually two different people, but I was talking to a friend the other day who wanted to invest more in his personal brand, and he's got a very strategic sort of outcome he's trying to achieve. And having to kind of drag him back, like, wait a minute, I want to hear about, like, what is it that you do all the time? And he said this one thing, he's like, oh, well, this is easy because it's like a lifestyle for me. And I said, stop, let's start there. Let's have a conversation about that lifestyle thing that you're doing. And we, on the spot, made a video specific to a tip, a tactic, a hack, or whatever on this lifestyle thing that's not nowhere near as big as the impact he can have, but he did this video on one thing. It had to do with like an environmental thing he's into. After he did that video, he got outreach from all these different people and different entities that he was seeking to speak, to visit, to have interactions with, all from him authentically saying, hey, this is what I love. I'm going to put this out into the world. If you love professional wrestling, if you love cameras, if you love palm tree types across the Caribbean, and that's what you could talk about all the time, that is your personal brand. Everything else will expand off of that. Everything else that you want it to be, and is it too small, is it too niche? You have to go deep, like digging for oil. You have to go deep and narrow into a specific niche before you can see the area being flooded with the oil of your brand. Meaning, once you go deep and narrow, oil will sprout and will fill up the area around you. But if you try to dig wide and broad for oil, it's gonna take you forever to find that oil. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So digging deep on your specific niche and just talking about it without any expectation, without like, oh, how much do I make? When do I get big? How big can my brand? It doesn't matter. If you go out and have conversations like this around topics that you are fully passionate about, that you live every single day, that is where you're gonna win. That is what a personal brand truly is. So it's hard for me when I'm talking to these like business leaders, well, I just wanna drive my business. Like, cool, your personal brand has more value than your business. If you drive your personal brand around something you're authentic about, maybe you're funny, maybe you've got knowledge on something that people wanna know about, that to me, I've learned, is everything. I just, actually literally over on that beach, I filmed a video 3 years ago talking about cost of living on Instagram. I had filmed 20 other videos about life in DR that got like, 100 views, 500 views, whatever, like 1,000 was amazing. I filmed that video and at some point it just took off. Went to 1 million views. All of a sudden I went from 8,000 to 30,000 followers on Instagram. That grew now to over 115, 120, wherever the heck I'm at on Instagram. TikTok is filled up. YouTube is over 50,000 now. Thank you all for that. And by the way, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button. That all came from just sharing something I was passionate about, sharing something I could talk about every day. My life. There's a song called Vacation by the Dirty Heads, and there's a line in that song that says, I make a living out of living, yeah, that's what I say. Like, that is my mantra. I make a living out of living, and all of you can do it as well. I didn't realize that when I was at my job, but every one of us have experiences. I met a guy over 50, over 200 pounds, like big, like not heavy, but he's over 50, he's like 6'4", over 200 pounds that does triathlons. That's very rare. So when we were talking about his brand, he had this idea of like, well, it could be, I got this like cleaning business. I'm like, screw the cleaning business, it'll grow. But what do you love talking about? He's like, man, people over 50 that want to do triathlon, especially big guys over 50, like, man, I could talk about that all day. All the things you got to do, the techniques, the tactics, like, great, that's your brand. I met another person who has an autoimmune disease, and she's figured out how to put it in remission. The doctors don't even know how. And she's talking about all these other things she wants to do, but really what it boils down to is she could serve the world as a woman, especially to other women suffering with autoimmune disease, to teach them what she's done. Not be a doctor, not be an expert, but she's making a living out of living if she goes out and talks about autoimmune disease in the way that's authentic and real to all of the people out there that would resonate with that. Your personal brand. I've learned this. This is the big lesson I've gotten in the last 9 years. Your personal brand has incredible value, especially now when big media has gone down and like niche media or independent media has risen. Look in politics. Russell Brand and Megyn Kelly are way bigger than NBC or CBS nowadays. The Young Turks, Charlie Kirk before he unfortunately passed, all of that, right? Like, these folks built media empires without being a media entity. That's the world we're in, and we're going to be in that world for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Go back to radio to TV, right? That was an era. How long were we in the TV era? Then we came cable TV, then came the internet, now came social media, and now you've got independent media. Your ability to go out and share what you're passionate about authentically in a way that creates emotion in people is absolutely the IP of the future. It is 2026 and beyond, but I didn't invest in Amazon when it was like $2. I didn't buy Bitcoin at 50 cents. I didn't invest post '08 in companies that went down because I thought they were all going to go down and then rebounded and made a ton of money. I'm never ahead of the curve on anything. The one thing I've been ahead of the curve on to this day that I can say is absolutely true, and there's a lot more curve to go, is personal brand, independent media, content creation. Boy, have I learned that lesson over the last 9 years. So anyway, I'm deep in the weeds at this point, folks. I'm just like walking behind. Look at where I am. Just like walking in the back of like the beach area. There's like stuff over there. The beach is over there. Just having fun talking about this. So I don't know who's still watching. If you are, this is always fun. If you're still watching it, what is it, like 25 minutes or so, drop a hell yeah down below if any of this resonates with you. I'll know those that are actually watching and this is hitting if you drop a hell yeah below. I'm gonna guess if you do, you're probably in your 40s, probably a little bit fed up with your corporate career, maybe thinking about retirement. And here's the thing that I'll tell you. Whether you quit your job, not that this is what the video is about, but whether you quit your job or you stay with it until you retire, if you've got that feeling I was describing at the beginning, this like emptiness, like I'm completely misaligned with where I want to go, one of two things will happen. Either way, you will get a sense of relief. It's just a matter of which relief you're going to feel. Relief A is you pivot. Maybe it's a different job with a different company or a different company at a different size. Maybe you just stick through and you don't change anything. Either way, on the other side of it, you're either going to have relief from ascension and joy, or you're going to have a relief through numbness. And that's okay. I know people, plenty of people that have gotten relief through numbness. I just talked to a buddy of mine the other day. He's just like, I don't know, man, I went through this phase of like, God, what am I doing? Is this really what I want my life to be? And then, I just sort of settled in. I'm focused on my kids' baseball and da-da-da-da. And I could feel in my heart this pain for him. I've known him forever, 30 years. Like, dude, man, like, I so want to help you get out of that because you're just numb, and that's okay. You don't feel that same pain maybe you felt, or you won't feel that same pain eventually. But a change, not necessarily going out on your own and moving to DR and creating content and becoming a YouTuber, not even that. It might be a different job. Look, I think a reason, I'm just thinking of this now, I think a big reason I resonate so much with DR, actually this is, when I worked for Progressive, I started and they were like under 10 billion in 2000. And that's a big company, but it's not as big as it is today. Under $10 billion Progressive as a claims guy, I've never sold insurance in my life. Some people are like, you're just an insurance salesman. Go F yourself. I've never sold a dime of insurance. I've always been in claims. But, I might get hit by something pulling through here. Oh, it's back here. But the under 10 billion version of Progressive allowed me to be really creative. Like, they didn't have as many restrictions on things. They were still trying to figure it out, right? They were building their process, they were building their footprint, they were building whatever it is they wanted to become. And I really thrived. Like, I had so much autonomy. I could do things. It was just like, the message was like, look, here's the objective, just get it done ethically and legally. That's it. Like, that's really it. Like, yeah, here's our guidelines, but it's not like if you don't follow this, you're gonna be in trouble. That was when I was making like 26 grand a year as a brand new claims adjuster in 2000. Now I'm making 400 grand a year, and my bosses are telling me, like, yeah, you've got, an organization of 150 people, managers, supervisors, you've got attorneys reporting to you, you've got process people reporting to you, but follow the process. Just follow the process. That was $50 billion Progressive. And I realized for me, as I'm thinking through this, that just didn't work. So if I were to get a job, it would have to be in a startup. It would have to be in an organization that's just getting themselves up and running, where they're defining themselves, they're defining their processes, there's creativity allowed, because at the core of it, I think I'm a creative. So if I had a job, it might be in that, a startup, an incubator type of environment, not a fully baked company. I think some of why I love living in DR, despite its highs, its lows, its goods, its bads, some people thrive, some people don't, all of that, is the US is at a point where they are kind of a fully baked, just follow the process country, right? Like, there's creativity is not, it is, but it isn't. Like, the entrepreneurial spirit exists in the United States, but the country is so developed that now they're like creating problems that they don't need to create, like, hey, why don't we just say boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and they can do that if they're 8 years old, right? Like, they're creating issues for themselves because they're so developed that it's like working in a $50 billion version of progressive. Dominican Republic is that incubator. It's that experiment. It's in a growth mode. It's figuring itself out. It's moving toward development. Who knows? Once it's developed, I might get bored of it and want to move to, I think Africa is going to be huge in the next 10 to 20 years. Africa's got so much potential. So maybe I move there. Who knows? But the point is, I think I resonate with DR so much because I like being in growth environments, not stable environments. I like being in a place where you can make an impact, where you can have a say. Like, I mean, crazy as it is, I hear this from people. One woman told me as a realtor, she's like, my client would not buy in Capcana, would not buy. Then she said she watched one of your videos, meaning my videos, about like, wow, here's some things I think Capcana's done really well recently. And she's like, hey, I just watched Jamie's video, I'm buying. I thought that was crazy, but I love it at the same time. It's humbling. It's also a little bit of an ego hit, I'll admit, but that's what I love. So I think I resonate with DR for that reason, because I am in an environment that's in a growth mode, that's got potential. We can solve things like poverty. We can solve things like hunger. We can help boys like I am with my inner circle get off the streets in places like Punta Cana and Friusa. There's so many things we can do here, and I love the ability to create and be a part of it. The US is just maybe too developed for me. That's interesting. I never thought of that. Again, I'm going to say this. The US is the greatest country on the planet. It's the greatest experiment. I think if I wasn't an American, I wouldn't have the ability to just take a passport and live wherever the hell I want. So proud American. American football is better than Latin American football, especially my Buffalo Bills. Hopefully this is the year. But you get my point. I think I resonate here in many ways because it is an incubator. It is a startup in some ways, if that makes sense to you, if you think of it just in a business sense. That's interesting. But anyway, 9 years. And when I think about it, like, so 2017 I moved, I quit in so 4 years later I quit. That's crazy. 4 years later I quit. 5.5 years later I moved here. And now 9 years later I own my home in the Dominican Republic. We don't own a home in the United States anymore. I have investments in the US, but I own my home here. I have a condo that's being built. I should have delivered middle of 2026. I've got land in Miches, a place I talked about long ago believing in, and then there was an opportunity. So I bought land, and then I went out and promoted the hell out of that land for other people because I like making content. And, there's a business opportunity in it as well, but I promoted Miches first because I love Miches and what it's going to be. There's plenty of other places that are awesome, but that's the one. That's so interesting as I think about it. 9 years. I own a business here, Jeffers Studios, 20% of it at least, with my partner Eric, my videographer. 9 years. And again, along the way, all these things that are happening, right? Kids being born, quitting the job, moving abroad, started a huge podcast, Tribe of Millionaires, that did really well. Now I have Grow Up with Gruber, which is re-releasing in 2026. Can't wait for season 2 to come out. We've got 6 episodes in the can and more to come. Wow. I'll just leave it with this. Thank you. Really, thank you. Many of you watch. Many of you probably hate watch. I know I do that with some programs. I hate watch some stuff. You just watch because, I hate this guy. I just want to watch and hate him right now. If that's you, thanks for sticking around. Many of you watch because it resonates. I resonate. And I always say, I speak from my own experience. I'm not the expert on everything. I'm the expert on my own life. And when I speak about things like you should, I'm not speaking necessarily to you. I'm speaking to you 10 years ago. I can only speak to who I was. They always say, the person you're best equipped to help is the person that you once were. And I just think that there's a lot of people that are living a great life, like I lived a great life, see the potential for more, may have some of the same feelings that I did. When am I ever going to be happy? What am I supposed to do? I'm 40, right? I got a mortgage, I got kids, I got this, I got that. I remember feeling, I still feel that to this day, how dare I ask for more? Especially living here is unique, right? Punta Cana, the beach, this is built for people with some means. But I live minutes away from driving through neighborhoods where people have nothing. How dare I want more? I go through that, but this is why socialism doesn't work. There's an element, it's a beautiful concept, but there's an element to it that people don't account for, and that is human ambition. Human ambition means that socialism can't truly work at scale long term. Anyway, I'm all over the place. I'm just reflecting at this point, folks. I hope this was enjoyable. If you're watching this right after Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you're watching it later in the year, happy whatever time of year it is. I appreciate you being along for this journey. Again, subscribe if you will. The other calls to action I would give you is check out Jeffers Studios when you come down, get a photo session in, do some videos, whatever, get your wedding done by Eric at Jeffers Studios. Amazing. And I'd love to see y'all. We have 600 now. Crazy in the inner circle for the cost per month of less than a Chipotle stop. JamieGruber.com. Check it out if you have interest in living here, moving here, if you live here already, if you're investing here, any of it, any and all of it, no matter where you are, in the US, Europe, Canada, DR, no matter where you are, the community has tons of conversations, tons of interactions, tons of information that is beneficial to you. So that's what I got. I'm sure I'll pop a video up over here for you to watch next because I got to keep you on my channel. It's part of the brand. I appreciate all of you. Good day from Playa Blanca. I'll see you soon.